2023 is shaping up to be one heck of a year for retro gaming, and I've got some exclusive early builds I've been playing that I can't wait to share with everyone, some of which have blown me away and I'll have you salivating for their release. Run and guns, shooters, platformers, and more. I can't remember the last time we've had such a mountain of great looking games, just released or incoming soon. And as always with these updates, I've got a bunch of free games to give away, and you know the drill. Enjoy the video and keep an eye open for the secret code for each game down below. Leave those codes in the comments and you're entered to win. No limit, comment every game that looks cool. And for those on my Patreon, everyone gets an automatic extra entry as a thank you for the support. So without further ado, let's look at the games I'm excited about for 2023. Starting off with a Contra style run and gun that just floored me with how good it was. It's like Contra Doom style with iron meat. Iron Meat is more than just a bloody Contra. It's the best damn bloody Contra I've played since Alien Wars on the Super Nintendo. Yes, it's that good. Ever since I played an early demo over a year ago, I knew it was gonna be special, but I had no idea how special until now. Publisher Retroware was awesome enough to send me the latest early build, and it's exceeded my expectations. Not just for the bloody cool pixel art and killer soundtrack, but for the ultra dense level design and enemy placement that's gonna make this a speedrunner's dream. The level designs are varied, each feeling unique with its own sets of enemies, obstacles, and challenging layouts that make learning them so much fun. And the more you play, the faster and more flawlessly you realize you can run through it. Just like a good arcade-style game should be. You'll notice the timer in the lower corner counting up, your own personal speedrunning clock. Or play it like a normal bloke. Take your time, learn the levels, and just enjoy the kick-ass art, music, and gameplay. Just like Super Cyborg, a Super Contra clone I showed off in my recent Best Run and Guns You Never Played video. Iron Meat gets the most important details right and feels so smooth to play. You can carry 2 weapons at a time and swap between them, and even level each up by grabbing the same icon again. Despite how dense the action is, the levels are long and get progressively harder toward the boss, really testing your skills on the normal setting. And the bosses are awesome hulking beasts with multiple phases, all accompanied by one of the most rockin' new soundtracks by Darkman07. A seemingly small but really cool feature that gave me a chuckle was the character creation. Knowing full well how great this will be for speedrunners, the dev went the extra mile by letting you look as cool or as ridiculous as you want, combining the heads, torso, and legs of dozens of characters to personalize your runs and streams. And that's the thing, the game isn't even done yet, coming later this year, but I already want to gush about it because it's already got the most crucial parts of the gameplay and presentation perfected, and anything else coming is just the icing on the cake. I almost feel guilty for being able to play all the stages like this so far in advance and gloating about it because it's so damn fun, I just can't stop. As of this video, Iron Meat just won Best of Show at the MagFest Indie Showcase, and I can see why. It's going to be a must-play game for any fan of the Contra series. Wishlist this bad boy on Steam the moment this video ends, or look for its upcoming console release. A massive thanks to Retroware for getting me this build to play, because Iron Meat is gonna be the breakfast of champions and speedrunners alike in 2023. GUNVEIN earns my very first I Can't Believe It's Not Cave award, rich in bullets and 100% blissful death, because if you didn't know any better, you'd swear they were behind it. But no, GUNVEIN is by NG Dev Team, the folks behind Razion, Gunlord X, Neozix, and more. And if you love bullet hell and have been looking for the next great thing since Crimson Clover, this is it. And it's mostly thanks to developer Boghog, main designer and programmer for GUNVEIN, who put together one of the most thrilling, aggressive, Ketsui meets Rayforce style of Danmaku I've played in a long time. If you're into balls-to-the-wall shooters like Mars Matrix, GUNVEIN will be right up your alley.
Don't play Mars Matrix.
Backing up the intense gameplay is an intense soundtrack by Xemia, pretty much a staple of NG dev games, and perfectly blood-pumping to complement the action. What's great about GUNVEIN is that it's not nearly as overwhelming as it first looks, actually being on the easier side of most bullet hell games, and not nearly as crazy difficult as most games from Cave. The bullet patterns are extremely creative and fun to learn, and the generous bomba fragments that you collect Battle Grega style keep you pretty well stocked and rarely without one when you need it most. And once I found my favorite character to use, Lizzie Type C, with the shortest range, but the fastest and most powerful ship for aggressive play, I was in the zone and enjoying my personal slice of bullet heaven. But it gets even better, as GUNVEIN is a fantastic way for beginner and intermediate players, not really good at bullet hell, to become much better, because Boghog went out of his way to include so many practice and training features. It's almost M2-like in its attention to detail. GUNVEIN works on a checkpoint system with a few per stage, so as you progress and die, you can start at the last one with a full set of lives. It even lets you buy extra sets of lives, shields, bombs, and even more continues with the points you've earned. I absolutely love this system, as it feels like you're actually progressing through the game and naturally learning along the way, instead of just credit feeding endlessly, which just ruins any sense of challenge. You can also practice any stage, any checkpoint, and any boss from the game menu, giving you every tool necessary to master the game, by not only having a great training mode, but even a bullet hell essentials mode, where it teaches you some basics of playing the genre. But there's even more, like 3 dedicated and super fun score attack modes with their own unique stages and challenges. And if you're into a more roguelike experience, there's even an arrange mode with its own ship, where you power up and level up as you go, choosing your options and loadouts to see how far you get and how long you can last. Developer Boghog has really thought of just about everything and made this as definitive and accessible a bullet hell experience as I can imagine, up to and including perfectly balanced difficulty modes, where progressing from mild to intense feels subtle and natural, and doesn't just clobber you. The only flaw, if you can call it that, are the graphics aren't as creative and over the top as what we expect from NG Dev. They're sharp, detailed, colorful, and look good, but not nearly as memorable compared to their previous games like Razion and Neozix. On the plus side, the bullet visibility is fantastic, and not once did I die from confusing them with backgrounds or effects. That's no easy task in a bullet hell. The best part though, for the first time, this NG Dev game was developed for modern consoles. It's now available digital on Steam, and coming very soon in 2023 to Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox, from what I understand, in both digital and physical form. And it's worth every penny. Let's hope that NG Dev uses the talents of Boghog again, as GUNVEIN is easily the most complete, technically sound, and feature-rich STG they've ever produced. And if we want to see more like it someday, and it's your kind of game, please go and support them, either now or when it's physical, because GUNVEIN is the kind of bullet hell that Cave and Danmaku fans could only dream of in 2023. If MOONRIDER was a Mega Drive game of the early 90s, we'd be calling it a classic today and still replaying it for nostalgia. Joymasher, the same Brazilian developer of Blazing Chrome, is back for a Shinobi-style game that channels its 16-bit roots as well as I could imagine. The visuals are extremely well done, yet have a grittiness to them belying its modern code. And the sound effects, while not identical to any of the old hardware, duplicates the sound bites just enough to feel like it could be. It's the Shinobi homage that never was, yet here it is in 2023. It also throws in some Mega Man, with selectable stages, and a new weapon power-up with every boss kill. There's also hidden chips to discover on every level to upgrade your abilities, equipping any 2 at a time, and it even throws in a wee bit of exploration, though nothing that you won't be blowing through at a rapid pace, once you know where to go. And that's my favorite aspect of Moonrider, the ability to quickly platform your way through levels, using timed wall jumps, Batman style, making it less deliberate than the slower paced Shinobi games. I like my ninjas and samurai fast and nimble, and Moonrider delivers there, with a great run attack for quick kills, and diving down kicks that can even be used to catapult yourself off enemies. The best stages are the fast stages, like Osiris Fleet, that starts with suspended platforming in a real visual showpiece, before battling one of the 2 mini-bosses, the second reminding me of the blimp battle from Xbox Ninja Gaiden, only to then jump on a flying platform for the second half of the stage and finale. Another standout is the high-speed forest level, avoiding snipers and enemies while a giant mech assaults you, forcing you to keep moving and learn to run through the stage quickly. And of course, there's some great tunes to back up the action, that while clearly beyond anything the 16-bit consoles produced, keeps the right vibe with its instrumentation, giving the music an early 90s rock and electronic vibe, similar to CD games of the time. Now, not every stage is as fun and creative, with some being slower paced and revolve around wall jumping and exploration, making them a bit more of a chore to replay once you figured them out. But all in all, the stage variety is great, and the medium challenge level makes this a game any fan of 16-bit platformers can eventually master and enjoy. It also has a couple of on-rails riding stages, reminiscent of Batman Returns, only not nearly as action-dense or interesting, likely the game's weakest points, at least compared to the excellent platforming. Vengeful Guardian Moonrider has its minor flaws, but they're easily outshined by its triumphs. Whether that era-perfect presentation or the tight control and platforming, anyone with nostalgia for this style of game shouldn't miss it. While it doesn't do that much new or have many extras, it does perfectly homage the kind of classics from our childhood that we still go back and play today. And for $17 on Steam, Joy Masher can take my money. You can bet this will be coming to consoles too, and as long as they keep pumping out this kind of quality, I'll be giving them the hype they deserve. If you recently bought this game and are looking for top tips in gameplay strategy, I highly recommend checking out Iconoclast, No Death, S-Rank Clear on his channel, and you can find that link in this video description. You're a big fan of NES platformers, especially games like Power Blade and Shatterhand, then definitely keep your eyes open for Prison City coming this year. It looks and plays just like a classic NES game, with non-linear level layouts to explore. Much like Power Blade, you'll need to find a keycard first that'll allow you to later enter a door to the boss, and the gameplay is very platforming focused, with you grappling to any edges, fences, and other parts of the environment to find your way across some well-designed levels. The first time through makes it fun to explore and find the hidden secrets, while repeated plays had me blowing through the stage, on my way to the keycard and boss, and the bosses were a highlight. All well designed and taking quite a few tries, sometimes multiple level playthroughs to figure out all their phases and tricks. But again, once you know what to do, it becomes more about skill and how quickly and easily you can take them down. The game you're seeing is still incomplete, and is having many more gameplay features integrated prior to release. I only had access to 3 of the several stages yet to come, but I love my 8-bit NES games, and one thing Prison City does extremely well is look, sound, and feel like the classic games, only without the flicker or the slowdown, including its sense of progression and difficulty. Developed by Programancer and published by Retroware, I'll definitely be looking forward to playing much more of this one as it gets closer to release, and any fan of NES platformers should too. If you loved Ninja Spirit on the TurboGrafx or in the arcade, you're gonna love the upcoming Shinobi non Grata. After playing the opening stage demo on Steam, I had a good feeling it was going to be special, as the gameplay is so fast, fluid and full of variety that the moment I finished, I wanted to keep going through the rest of the game. You can cycle through special weapons acquired, with a meter you refill by collecting flames from downed enemies, and shifting through them quickly as you play is both fast and seamless, as you double jump and roll your way through the level, with the enemies endlessly assaulting you from both directions, ground and sky. Just the opening stage had 2 mini-bosses and an end boss, each with a specific strategy and ideal weapon to use. Shinobi no Grata is definitely the kind of game that you need to play to appreciate, as despite its more basic graphics, it shines in its implementation and is incredibly fun to play. So check out the free demo on Steam and see for yourself. It's coming later this year, and the physical is already available for pre-order on both Switch and PS4 from Strictly Limited Games. If you love shmups, and of course, if you watch this channel, chances are you probably do, 2023 is set to be a kick-ass year. And in the next segment called SHMUPDATE 23, I'm giving you a souped-up rundown of tons of games that I'm excited about. Are you ready to get your shmup on?
Heck yeah, I'm ready.
Timmy, where you been? Oh, is that an Electric Underground shirt?
It sure is. I'm Team Mark now. He's the real deal.
Hey, I love Mark and watch his channel, and you should too.
Okay, get on with it, you poser.
Okay, how about just one more let's go, for old time's sake?
Oh, fine. Let's go!
Starting off strong with Drainus, the great game with a terrible name. Drainus won't unclog your sink, or unpucker your anus either, but it'll have you believing that AAA presentation in shmups isn't just a thing of the past. The visual choreography, graphics, and creativity on display is fantastic, and it's a must-play for fans of old-school horizontal shooters, with it homaging tons of games from the Gradius to the Darius series. But it's also new school, with a great bullet absorption mechanic that turns traditional gameplay on its head by having you collect damage instead of avoiding it, then firing it right back at enemies. It's also very upgrade focused, letting you change your weapons and loadout on the fly, anytime by bringing up the menu right in the middle of gameplay. One thing to note is it's super accessible for beginners, downright easy on the normal mode, and experienced players will very likely clear it on their first try. A very long try, as this shmup is no joke, at nearly 2 hours to completion with a ton of content, but Drainus will blow away almost anyone playing it for survival the first time, as it's really that good overall for most of us. An older style horizontal shooter with modern twists and conveniences, super accessible to beginners, top tier presentation, and a name that only a junkie could love. And if you're looking for a full-on, in-depth review, check out Mark's at the Electric Underground. It's coming to Nintendo Switch Physical and can be pre-ordered through Strictly Limited Games. Are you tired of waiting for M2 to slowly release their toy plan collections, one series at a time? Well, if you play on PC, you're in luck, because this February, the 4-game collection of Tatsujin, Zero Wing, Outzone, and Twin Cobra release on Steam. And this is no cheap cash grab, but an extremely faithful emulation by Bitwave Games, using their proprietary engine, minimal input lag, and packed with features like quick saves, online leaderboards and replays, very easy mode, display rotation, and even their own exclusive features like a widescreen mode for Twin Cobra. Bitwave really cares about these games and have gone all out to make this PC release something to be proud of. It's about as good and extensive as arcade ports get. Now remember, this is Steam only, folks. Consoles are exclusive to M2. And yes, you can even buy them individually. So if you're a PC player, give Bitwave some love in February, because if it sells well, it's only the first of more toy plan collections to come. Don't sleep on Never Awake. A beautiful looking twin-stick shooter is finally out on Steam and consoles, as well as Switch, PS4, and Xbox. And it's every bit the visual masterpiece that I expected it to be, along with the great gameplay that I already experienced playing the early demo, only now complete with a ton more content that I can't wait to dig into. Over 70 stages that loop harder and harder as you progress, tons of bosses, and an upgrade system that lets you adjust your loadout for the demands of different stages and loops. Every stage is broken into segments, and each are like a puzzle to be solved, always changing things up and getting harder and more interesting. Not only is Never Awake one of the best new shmups to come around around in a long time, but it's also one of the most unique and creative. Something about the game keeps pushing you forward, wanting to see and unlock every stage and loop, if just for the incredible visuals and bosses, and to see the story unfold. The level of depth and replayability here is top-notch, and I can't recommend this one enough for players who also enjoy upgrades, leveling, progression, and improving your ranking and score. Never Awake is my underrated game of the year so far. I came across a great in-depth review by Dragnix that does a wonderful and passionate job of articulating what makes Never Awake so special, and I highly recommend checking it out for a lot more detail on this excellent game. Softstar was one of the best new shooters of 22, and now coming to Switch in 23. A must-play for any fan of earlier Toaplan and Compile shooters. Developed by Banana Bytes, a small team in Brazil, its best feature is the massive stable of 9 ships, each very unique in their weapon loadout and teleport mechanic. Yes, I said teleport, and each has their own way of avoiding damage, whether creating a copy of itself or spinning like a top for invincibility. I've played through the game with nearly every one, and each completely changes up the experience. I haven't even mentioned the game itself yet. Excellent pixel art, good music, and super tight control. It also has an absolute mountain of extra modes and features, more than I've seen in nearly any other shooter, from training modes, cadet schools, multiple time attack and scoring modes, and an endless mode that I've yet to explore. If it only had one ship, it would still be a phenomenal game, but the sheer variety elevates it to another level. If you saw my older, in-depth preview and were wondering when it's finally coming to console, you've got your wish. Coming to Switch in 2023, and a game no fan of old school shooters should miss. Another year and another game for Terrarin, the fastest developer in the East. Seriously, the dude is a machine. If his last 2 games, Raging Blasters and Moondancer, were homages to vertical scrolling shooters of old, then Terraflame is obviously a chip off the old Thunder Force block, just as smooth, fast, and polished as you'd expect from a Terrarin game, along with the now standard, excellent music by his composer Hiroki. Unlike his last 2 games though, this one is definitely more spicy in the challenge department, especially on expert mode, but still fantastic for entry-level players on the easier modes. And if you know Thunder Force 3, Gate of Thunder, and similar games, you'll know exactly what to expect here. Don't let the basic graphics fool you. This is a super solid, very well-designed shooter by a seasoned developer near the top of his game. And if you wait for an eventual console release, there's a very good chance that it'll get improved in the visuals department, just like his last 2. Or you can check out the free demo right now on Steam. Speaking of old school shooters, you gotta check this out. Dino Force, a previously unreleased PC Engine game, was finally released for free. And no, it doesn't have any dinos. Bummer, I know. I remember seeing pics of this in magazines, wondering when it was coming, but it never did. Until now. Was it worth the wait? Well, yes and no. It's pretty average compared to the console's best, but for an unreleased game, it's worth the play. And heck, it's free. Unless you plan on picking up the physical HuCard release coming from PC Engine Works. Really, the coolest thing about Dino Force is that it's literally playable after being lost for decades. So if you're a diehard PC Engine fan like me, you won't miss it. No, it's no Soldier Blade, but thankfully, it's no Deep Blue either. Another set of classic PC Engine and Mega Drive titles are getting a physical with the Telenet Shooting Collection. Well, mostly classics anyway. The best 2 are the Mega Drive titles, Gaiaris and Granada, top-tier games that are some of my favorite on the console. Psychic Storm on PC Engine is a good entry-level shooter and worth playing, with only Avenger being the odd game out and mediocre at best. This collection is set to release in the second half of 23. On the arcade side of things, we're getting a console release of the incredible Rayforce series with Ray's Arcade. All 3 games coming to Switch and PS4, and ported by none other than M2.
Joy!
And just like M2 did with their G Darius release, we'll be getting the upgraded HD versions of both Ray Storm and Ray Crisis. Included is the highly anticipated, never before released R-Gear, a planned sequel to Ray Force that never materialized. It's just a single level of the unreleased prototype, but that's still a treat for fans. So if you're still looking for an all-in-one package of this killer series, practically guaranteed to be ported well by M2, it's up for pre-order by Strictly Limited Games. One of the most underrated, labor of love indie shmup projects that I reviewed over a year ago finally just got a console release. Wings of Blue Star had excellent hand-drawn visuals, a super cool soundtrack, and reminded me of great Neo Geo games like Blazing Star. Developer Shinu put so much work into the extras, artwork, and story, along with a host of upgrades since it first released. So if you thought this game looked good, but wanted it on Switch or PS4, now you have no excuse. While I've only played the Steam version I own, I believe that Shinu is working hard to ensure the new console ports will be close to the version on Steam. If you're curious, check out my old review of the game and download the demo. On a side note, Shinu has been working on a platformer called Memories of a Blue Star, and I'll keep everyone updated on how that's coming along as it gets closer to completion. Another fantastic game that I previewed last year that's about to get a lot more attention. Shieldmade is hands down one of the most unique, creative concepts in a shooting game, with an absorption mechanic that flips traditional shmups on their head. Hit P Studio created a scoring bonanza that have had shmup fans playing and raving about it since release. Unlike Drainus, which has you absorb shots up to a point, then returns that fire, Shieldmade is all about continuing to absorb shots long as you can for chaining and score, and keeping your shield up as long as you're able. One of the most replayable and easy to just pick up and play on a whim new shmups in a long time. It also has a wonderful soundtrack by none other than Ed Tremblay of Bullet Heaven fame. Without a doubt, one of the best new shmups of 2022 that not enough people have played. It's finally making its debut on Steam this March with a ton of new features. 2 new challenge modes with new enemies and ship upgrades, replays for local and online leaderboards, graphics and visual effects updates, and all tested and working on Steam Deck. It's coming to consoles as well later this year, published by East Asia Soft. Finally ready to get the wide release it deserves. Apparently, the last R-Type Final wasn't the final. Who knew? R-Type Final 3 Evolved isn't a completely new game, but takes the complete package of Final 2, including the DLC levels from Stage Pass 1, upgrades the visuals and performance, includes a host of new community features, and adds even more new and redone levels on top of that. There were so many DLC levels added that I couldn't keep up, and I would have loved to see them all included, but hopefully they plan to make them all available here as well. And there's plenty of new footage in the trailer that I've not seen before, slated for PS5 release this spring, though given how limited the PS5 user base still is, I'd be curious how many will even have the hardware to play it. So Granzella, if you're listening, it'd be great to eventually see it on Steam, and more common consoles as well. Be honest now, did you ever think that so many smaller indie shmups would be getting published and physical releases like this? Talk about an awesome time to be a shmup fan. 2 fan favorites by developer Hey, Mecha Rit Steel Rondo and Desitopia, have a physical combo release by Strictly Limited Games. Yes, you heard that right. The retromanic, psychedelic, roller coaster shooter on crack is getting a physical from Strictly Limited Games. And if you haven't played it because it looked kind of basic, boy are you missing out. Upgraded in 2.0 form, Mecha Ritz has a really good rank system that makes the game more fun instead of just pissing you off, ramping like a coaster the better you play until it's too manic to handle, but then shoots right back down the moment you die, making it addicting to want to play better and survive, just to see how crazy things get. Enemies and non-stop bosses come and go so fast that the levels stay fresh and replayable, all to a style that you really have to play and hear to appreciate. Mecha Ritz was always a diamond in the rough with killer gameplay, and is now tuned up and ready to roll on Steam. But the combo release of Mecha Ritz and Hayes' latest game, Desitopia, is out physical on Switch through Strictly Limited Games. And believe it or not, Desitopia is a game that I haven't yet played because of the overwhelming amount of content it has, but definitely plan to. Not to mention that it has the same dynamic difficulty system of Mecha Ritz. So if you already know and love these games, grab the physical. And if you've not yet tried them, the older original Mecha Ritz is available free. Download it and see what the fuss is all about. Living Dangerously is back with Grace Counter GM, upgraded graphics, more features, new ships, and finally available on all consoles and Steam. Grace Counter is just a damn fun game and a fantastic indie shmup with a really unique aesthetic and good music. You graze by flying as close to bullets as possible, pumping your meter, and then unleashing a powerful beam, rewarding you with invincibility, only to do it again and again, playing risky for great rewards. Not only is it addicting, but also very beginner friendly, letting novices milk the invincibility of the beam for a pretty casual clear. But crank up the difficulty or play it for score, and you've got a seriously tough game with a lot of replay value and a high skill ceiling, with over 16 chips to choose from, including a cool new guest chip from Grand Cross Renovation. My friend Mark from Electric Underground recently reviewed this game, and you can check out the full review on his channel. Dead End City is a post-apocalyptic blast fest where Mad Max meets Galaga meets ground-based shmup, with a heavy hit of nostalgia thrown in. Each level starts off with a road section, playing like a souped-up Galaga with incoming waves to clear, followed by a full-on shmup section infiltrating the enemy stronghold, and a large, imposing end boss, often channeling Fury Road and having to blow off its armor, before revealing the little buggers within. And if you can take down the boss no damage, you get to fight a rival car, unlocking it as a playable character if you can beat it. Collect fuel and ammo to power up your shot and sub-weapons, while keeping it topped off to build your score. Much like Capcom's early 1940s games, you don't die when hit but lose fuel faster instead, which also drains slowly over time, so keeping it topped off is the name of the game. Dead End City released late last year and flew under the radar, so give the free demo on Steam a try, and be pleasantly surprised how cool this new indie shmup turned out. Valfaris was one of the most metal, kick-ass run-and guns to come out in a long time, and fans of the game have been anticipating a sequel, but nobody thought the sequel would change direction into a full-on shmup. Now, literally heavy metal, as a giant mech, bruising your way through levels, grabbing tons of new weapons and upgrades, and finding the best combination of loadout for each area. I played through the early demo, now available on Steam, and it's definitely one of the most unusual shmups that I've come across. Heavy on resource management and strategy. Using your blaster, special weapons and attacks all depletes your power gauge, which you don't want to run out, lest you become worthless and weak. But your melee attack quickly recharges that gauge, as you kill enemies and block projectiles. So it's a constant back and forth of close combat to stay powered up, and only using your special and ranged attacks efficiently, while checkpoints let you upgrade your weapons and loadout between your shot, throwing your melee weapon, ranged specials, and even a powerful dash burst. You're a one-machine wrecking crew, and it feels like it. It's still early, but the game has potential, so check out the demo on Steam and leave a wish list if you dig it. It's quite different, but with how good the original Valfaris turned out, I am looking forward to seeing a lot more of Mechatherion once it's complete. Raiden 3 is getting the Mikado treatment, and it's one that's desperately needed, as unlike Raiden 4, Part 3 only ever saw a Windows and a PS2 port. And from the looks of it, it's getting a boost in resolution for modern consoles. Of course, being a Mikado mix, it's getting a bunch of remixed music tracks from renowned musicians, which you can selectively pick and choose for any level you wish. Like the last release, you'll have all the various modes, including double play, that lets one person control both ships at once. As if just playing Raiden 3 normally wasn't hard enough, I didn't get on too much with the later Raiden games, with the original 2 still being my favorites in the series. But if you played and loved 3, this will likely be, by far, the best way to play it aside from the PCB, only with a bunch of extra features thrown in. Releasing soon this February 23rd, not only on Steam, but pretty much every console you could own. Batsugun, a Toaplan all-time favorite, is getting an S Tribute release by City Connection, and I don't need to sell anybody on this one. The prototype bullet hell by Tsuneki Ikeda, that has yet to get an easily accessible home release, is finally getting one. Included will be the special version of the game, which many, including myself, prefer, along with the usual saves, rewinds, and extras. And while we likely have future, more definitive ports coming from both M2 and Bitwave games on consoles and Steam respectively, those are likely gonna be a while. So let's hope City Connection does a decent job here, like they did with Death Smiles and more recently Akai Katana, and shows us that their Cotton tribute debacle is behind them, because Batsugan is incredibly popular and well loved, deserving of a quality release that does it justice. M2 sure has a lot on their plate, so what else is new? They just announced their next Toaplan collection this year as Zero Wing and Hellfire, though we don't know that extra game included yet. The footage clearly shows 2-player Hellfire, so we know that version will be included, and we can only assume that the famous Mega Drive all-your-base version will be there too. I'd also love to see them include the PC Engine port of Hellfire, as it's quite unique with cutscenes and a phenomenal remixed soundtrack by T's Music. No release date announced yet, but I'd be very surprised if it's not out this year. M2 is also ready to make K-fans extremely happy, with a Shot Trigger's release of Doronpachi Daiojo, which you know is going to be some top-tier work as usual. And finally, we're all greatly anticipating the upcoming Alesta branch that they teased late last year, though if you ask me, it's likely still got a long way to go in development, and I wouldn't get my hopes up for seeing Wizen's behind again until next year. Would you believe there's still a ton of games I've left on the table and still didn't get to? Some that just aren't ready yet or have demos to try, and others that I'd love to show you, but am sworn to secrecy until next time, so you'll have to wait just a bit longer. But in the meantime, if this massive list of new games incoming wasn't enough to satiate you, I've got plenty of great videos highlighting awesome and obscure arcade-style games that flew under the radar and are just waiting to be discovered. Games that you possibly have never heard of or played. That makes them new to you, right? And you can check those out right here.